Greetings to you. I hope the weekend has been a blessing to you on this holiday weekend of Thanksgiving. Today at church, we culminated the weekend with actually the closing of the liturgical year with the feast of Christ the King. You all know the story well on the feast of Christ the King that we have in the gospel, the story of the Last Judgment, where we have Jesus telling us about the separation of humanity into two groups, sheep and goats. What I said today in church, as some of you may know from being there, is that those categories of sheep and goats are the result of choices that we make, which pathway we're going to follow. That theme, the pathway we're going to follow, is actually the theme for the meditation this week for our second installment of Journey to Generosity 2017. In the gospel that's appointed that we sent out to you in this email, you see that it's a familiar text, John 14, 1 through 14, where Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and the great promise of do not let your hearts be troubled. Those words that we know well are a source of great consolation if we allow them to be just that. And as the rest of the story unfolds, we see that Jesus makes a promise that there are many, many places prepared for us in God's kingdom for those of us who are faithful to Him. We all want to be faithful, I think. We want to be faithful disciples, which when you're a faithful disciple, it means you're a faithful steward. But we get distracted, we lose our way, we sometimes make less than ideal choices with our lives, not because we're ill-willed, but because we're human. But at the same time, we have to learn from those choices and make better decisions as we try to grow in faith in Jesus Christ. You know, when I was a student in seminary many years ago at Cathedral College, the Immaculate Conception Seminary in Douglaston, I had a great professor by the name of Monsignor Conrad Dietz, and he taught us epistemology and metaphysics. Epistemology is the theory of knowledge, the understanding of how we come to know. And often he would begin the class with, well, for lack of a better term, a riddle. And this one you probably have heard, but it was one of the first ones he shared with us in 1975 when I was the tender age of 18. He said, gentlemen, he said, you're standing at the fork in a road. At the fork, there's a guard. You know the following things. One of the paths leads to paradise. The other leads to damnation. He says you can't distinguish between the two paths. You know this too, that there are two guards at each path. One of the guards is known for telling you the truth, no matter what the question. And the other guard, well, he tells you only lies. Now, in order to make your journey complete, you have to choose one of these paths. And he says, in order to choose, you only can ask one question to discover which path leads to paradise. He says, okay, gentlemen, that's the situation. What is the best question to ask that would guarantee the right path? I remember not knowing the answer to that as a second-year philosophy student, a sophomore in college, effectively. Actually, most of us didn't know the answer. I don't remember anybody actually knowing the answer. And he would put it up on the board, and every day for a week, he would say, anybody have the answer? Anybody have the answer? And he said, well, here's the best possible answer. You ask one of the guards, which door would the other guard say leads to paradise? If you ask the truthful guard, he will say the lying guard would say the wrong door. If you ask the lying guard, he would say the truthful guard would pick the wrong door as well, since he's lying. So no matter what, you could choose the door opposite of what they say and end up in paradise. Well, Father Dietz was a very smart man, and I'm not sure I still understand that riddle. But I do understand this much about it, that all of us have to make choices. And then the text today for stewardship on this journey to generosity, we're asked to make a choice very simply to embrace a generous spirit. Now, this generous spirit, the Lord tells us, is quite a possibility because he says in this text to Philip, greater deeds even than I you will do for those who are faithful. Greater deeds even than I you will do for those who are faithful. Imagine what that means as a steward. If Jesus, who was the person completely for others, so much so that he gave himself over to death on the cross, he says, even greater deeds than that you will do if you're faithful. Now, what he means by that is not necessarily that we all have to take up the cross, although we all have our moments that we do have the cross. But what he's really trying to say, I think, is simply this, that this act of otherness, this complete generosity, well, you will do even greater deeds than that for the people in your life and the people that you know if you are faithful to the way of the Lord. And we heard today in the gospel text, in the story from Matthew's gospel on the last judgment in the 25th chapter, what that looks like. Whenever you see anyone like this, you see me. When I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I was sick and naked and in prison, you attended to me. That's an important theme for us at Church of the Resurrection, this journey of generosity. We're trying to determine how we at Church of the Resurrection can become not only more generous individuals, but a more generous community of faith. So last week, just a few days ago actually, on Thanksgiving, well, many of you were gathered with friends and family around Florida and around Tampa and perhaps even around the country. Those of us who were able to stay here in Tampa were able to provide an opportunity to have dinner with over 35 refugees from the African refugee community that is organized and overseen by Father Gabriel. We had people from Burundi, people from Tanzania, people from Rwanda, people from Congo, as well as France and Sweden, dining with us in the spirit of Thanksgiving. And even though we were separated by a number of different languages and had to go through translations to communicate with each other, there was a profound sense of God being present. Why? Because whenever you see anyone and respond to them, there is Jesus. Wow. Are we able to do that on our own? I suspect we might be able to, but the reason why we're compelled to do it is because of this great promise that Jesus says to Philip. Philip says, Lord, show us the way. And he says, I will show you the way. And when you see that way, when you make that choice, when you go to that pathway and ask that guard, which is the way, you'll know which path to take. Our hope and prayer is that you'll know the right path to take in the journey to generosity in this season as we close the liturgical year and go into Advent this week. Especially, you'll know the right path to take in this Advent season. To help you with that, of course, in this Advent journey, we'll be sending out to you, as we do every year, the Advent meditations that go out from our parish. And as you may know at this point, these meditations are well traveled around the world, put on websites and used in a number of partner dioceses throughout the Anglican Mission Society. Also, we have for you a little gift that we're asking you to maybe contribute $5 towards. It's an Advent calendar that you put up, and for each day, this Advent calendar simply has a little thing you can do to get ready. It's called Slow Down, Be Quiet. It's Advent. And today we suggested that perhaps you could even buy an extra one and give it to a friend or a relative and help them step into the Advent journey, which is really a journey to discipleship. And a journey to discipleship is a journey to stewardship. And the journey to stewardship is a journey to generosity. May God bless you. Please pray for me as I leave tomorrow for the Diocese of Dunkwa in Ghana and the Diocese of Asante Mapang as we make visitations to our home bishop, Bishop Edmund, this coming week. And I'll be back with you for the second week of Advent. But in the meantime, please pray for me. I'll be praying for you. And remember, it's a journey to generosity that we're on. God bless you and have a good week.